Rod doing Rod, thank you for joining me. I need to know I'm not crazy as I speak about this little phenomenon that happens. Have you ever been in a situation where you're around a bunch of white people and they say, "Do you know this song?" Right? Maybe you're at a party, maybe you're at a bar, something like that. A song comes on and they say, "Oh, do you remember this? Remember this?" They assume you know it. Actually, they don't say, "Do you know it?" They say, "Remember this?" and you don't know the song. Has this happened to you? So I'm talking about this because I'm a teacher. I hang out. Most of the time I hang out with people who aren't black. And I say people who aren't black specifically because white culture is exported everywhere around the world, white Western culture. So when I'm hanging with people, even the ones who aren't black, they kind of, as far as pop culture, they lean more towards the Western white side than they would towards what the millions of us, participate in, us being blacks and to a fair degree Latinos as well. So I'll be out with my friends, my colleagues, I should say. They're my colleagues. And a song will come on and they'll be like, "Remember this?" And I'm like, just because I'm a music buff, if I wait long enough and I listen to the title or someone kind of starts singing the chorus, listen to the chorus and someone starts singing the chorus, I'll know what the song is just because I was a Billboard fanatic, meaning Billboard magazine, and later on the website. And so I knew about all the artists. I followed the charts. I was always in my head in a Spin magazine and a Rolling Stone or whatever like that. But I didn't really listen to those songs. So when those songs come on, right now I'm in my 40s, so we're talking about songs from the 80s, maybe early 90s. And we're talking about these bands that you guys think are legendary and artists, it can be anyone from Bon Jovi to Guns N' Roses to, I don't know, Sheryl Crow. It could be some one-hit wonders. It could be any of that, right? So the songs will come on and they assume I know them. "Oh, you remember that?" I'm like, "No, I don't remember it. It's not what I was listening to back then." And they're like, "How could you not know this song?" And I'm like, "How could you not know Every Little Step I Take by Bobby Brown?" you know? So they're just like amazed and appalled that I don't know those songs. And that's the thing, right? So yeah, it's annoying to me, but it doesn't alienate me. For one, because I'm a music person. For two, I don't give that many F's. But I could see how other black people in these situations could feel a little alienated and they can feel a bit ostracized and feeling like they're not a part of the group because there's so many commonalities amongst whiteness. Now, I'll hang out with people and one of the white people can be from South Africa. The other one could be from England. The other one can be from New Zealand. But they were all listening. They were listening to their regional artists and stuff, yeah. But when they were listening to, like, say, rock as a teen or whatever like that, there's so much commonality. And not just that, movies, actors, athletes. There's all this commonality. And when we don't know these people, they look at us kind of like we're crazy. They're like, "What were you doing? Like, why don't you know these people?" And I'm like, well, I was watching and listening to the people of my culture. So they might be, maybe there's a movie. I've never seen Top Gun, by the way. Now, even before I go further, the crazy thing is a lot of black people, we still are forced to participate in their culture because ours was just not widely available. Still isn't to a great extent. So, and it's ironic as I have a Starbucks cup, right? What's whiter than that? It's not like I have options for something different. Actually, that's a different conversation. But anyway, so back to the movies. I didn't see like Top Gun and stuff. A lot of black people did. Yeah, you saw Top Gun, you saw Dirty Dancing, whatever like that. But how many of them saw New Jack City? How many of them saw I could name Money Train, Jungle Fever, and those are not even deep dives, like Colors, how many of them seen those movies? We all saw them when they came out. They were events, right? So me, it's crazy if I'm not aware of those things, and I am because we all have to be. But I'm just using Top Gun for example because I didn't see it, and I've never wanted to see it. Kind of do want to see the sequel though. I saw bits and pieces of it. It looked dope, but So, and then, you have these situations where, like, I'm around white people, right? And they say they know some things from our culture. They know all of theirs. And then some, sprinkling of some. They may have heard of this artist, that they're not expected to know. They may have seen Boys in the Hood. Maybe they can talk about Kanye's first album because they were teens at the time, and Kanye was reaching across the aisle with a lot of what he was doing. So they can speak of Eminem, of course. Let me not start back on Eminem. So these people are considered knowledgeable. They have a wide range of interests, right? Because of that. But then you have me. I was participating in all of my culture, but I also was watching the Gary Shandling show and not even Larry David. I was watching the Gary Shandling show as like a 9-year-old. I was watching what's this The Critic, in home movies. I was listening to Fiona Apple. I was all of this stuff. I was reading Vietnamese poetry. Oh, it's one book, but still, and for me, there's no platform. Not that I need it, but there's no like context where you would realize how wide ranging my interests are. That person though, the bar set so low for the white person. It's just like, oh man, yeah, you're really eclectic. Because I'm supposed to have known about all the freaking Guns N' Roses and all of that stuff, right? And then the stuff in my culture, it's invisible anyway. Like I can tell them about it and they're like, oh yeah, it's interesting, but it's invisible. They don't have any connection to it, and it's like, all of the popular albums that were selling millions of records and the movies that we all went to see, and the athletes and all of that pop culture stuff, it was largely invisible to them, and it was right there. That's the crazy thing. Like, there's a whole invisible culture that's right next to them, but they don't need to have awareness of it. Them not having awareness of it, they're like, yeah, because they think their culture is culture. It is culture, and some of you black people do as well. I have to go back to that moment some years ago where Paul McCartney did a song with Rihanna and Kanye West, and a lot of the young people, the young adults and teens and stuff, they didn't know who Paul McCartney was. And a lot of black people were like, how could they not know who Paul McCartney is? Kanye West and Rihanna are nowhere near on the level of Paul McCartney. And I remember thinking, Paul McCartney is lucky they want to do a song with him. They're doing a song with him because they know that's how you feel about Paul McCartney. When's the last time you bought anything from Paul McCartney? I don't know. First of all, I don't even know if Paul McCartney's still alive. But I don't know like what music he's released since Wings. Was that the group he was in after the Beatles? You know what I mean? But like, okay, he's from the Beatles. The Beatles made amazing music, of which a lot of it was the idea and a lot of it was stolen from black people. But they made a lot of amazing music, yes, decades and decades ago. But by the time Paul McCartney made that song with Rihanna and Kanye West, they were the Beatles. You're talking about Kanye West and Rihanna in, what was this? This might have been the mid 2010s, something like that. Could be wrong, whatever. These were the biggest artists in the world. And they were game-changing artists. Like, Kanye West is a game-changing cultural icon. For good or for bad, he is as influential as the Beatles, because in this day and age, what he's done with fashion, music, just, as a mouthpiece, is known everywhere, is talked about everywhere. You just got a visceral reaction when I said that. So that's proof right there. But so the thing is, being in these situations where you're around white people and they assume that their culture is just culture, but they don't have to know anything from our culture. It's just like, I focus on the songs a lot because that's usually, it's the easy thing. The songs come up and and they start dancing and they're like, do you remember this song? It's like, no, and they think I wasn't listening to music because I don't remember the song, which is crazy. I'm like, I was listening to another artist who sold 4 million records at that time. His name was Juvenile. So they'll be like, Juvenile, that's familiar. It's kind of familiar. Maybe they'll come up with the song. The song I'm talking about. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll ask, and I'll be like, you ever heard the song Back That Ass Up? Yes! And they'll start talking about drunk white girl adventures or frat boy kind of adventures, and they'll sing it off key. Back that ass up. I remember that. Oh, you look good. Won't you back that ass up? It's just, And I'm like thinking about the Ha remix with Jay-Z and how that was a landmark moment in hip hop. And also that album sold like 3-4 million copies, right? That they didn't have to be aware of. This was before the internet. People might say, oh, well, now we have the internet and people have these huge people might say now people have these huge fan bases and you haven't heard of them, Rod. And you're right. But we're talking about before the internet when things weren't as expansive. And you could have kind of kept an ear and an eye on all of culture, like we had to, because the Western white culture is always in our face. But you guys didn't have to, you didn't feel like you had to be aware. They didn't feel like they had to be aware of our side of things. It was invisible, But I still, here and there, because I'm not gonna display my wide range of interests just to impress or to let someone know, oh yeah, I am aware of your things too, and they're all of our things, right? But I'm aware and I also know things and stuff like that. Like once in a while, someone will play Elton John, I'll start singing and everything. I don't like concerts a lot, so I'll tell them, a big regret I've had about being in Qatar is missing the Elton John concert that was in Dubai a few years ago. I was gonna go and I didn't because I'm whack. And I told that to someone, they took it as a joke. They were like, oh, they really thought I was joking. But yeah, just some random thoughts on, this. It's like a soft racism because it's them assuming that their culture is culture when there are other cultures that, especially in America, right? Especially in America, whereas like we're right there with all this influence, but if it doesn't touch them, it didn't happen. And that's what she said. If it doesn't touch them, it didn't happen. No, but I'm sure there's an immature joke in there somewhere. Anyway, Rod doing Rod. Y'all stay good. Let me get my butt to work. Peace.